the real story of the Trappers is the players.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the fact that they owned it.
Right.
And I really appreciated that perspective. And we were always trying to make a movie that focused on the players.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know there's some alternate Bad News Bears thing out there that's like, Bill Murray came to Salt Lake and whipped these guys into shape. But like, the story of the players is beautiful and like enormous on its own. And so we did not get to talk to Bill Murray, but if I understand the Murray's standpoint, it's coming from a place of wanting to give these players their due.
Right.
Even though if he called, we'd pull the movie out of theaters and put in a new scene.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Overtime Cards podcast. I'm Tate.
I'm Dawson.
And today we have a special guest, Hunter Phillips, the producer of the Streak documentary. Hunter, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. Really appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for taking the time to be here and to talk about this awesome documentary that you've been working on for 7 years, 12, 13 years probably?
It depends on, there's a couple different ways that you could define it. But since we actually started talking to the Salt Lake Trappers and getting the wheels going on the project, it's been 7 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. But now I'm sure you're glad the work's done and it's going to be great. Talk about the background and stuff of that and the Trappers. And, you know, obviously they broke the streak is about a winning streak that was 29 games and still stands today. And it happened in 1987. So, you know, like I said before the podcast, before my time and yours. So it's really cool to learn about it. But tell us a little bit more background on the Trappers and you know, then get into the motivation to make a documentary about it.
Yeah. So the story of the Trappers, our story takes place in 1987, but I think the story of the Trappers starts in 1984 when the Salt Lake Gulls leave downtown. But the Gulls were a AAA team here in Salt Lake who vacated the city because the ownership group thought Salt Lake is not a baseball town. And so in that vacuum that was left, a group of owners, independent owners, thought we could put together a team here in Salt Lake. We could pick guys who weren't drafted. We could do the scouting ourselves. We might be able to put together the best team in the Pioneer League. And so in 1984, they start doing that. And right out the gate, the Trappers are super good. I mean, their instincts are proved out. It's almost like a proto Moneyball situation where this group of owners who included the actor Bill Murray.
Awesome.
By the way, and also included Artie Moreno, who's now the owner of the Los Angeles Angels. This was his first start being part of a baseball team. And they were proven correct by plucking guys who were overlooked by the scouts, who were passed over, who had maybe made their way up to single or double A and were back down. And so 85 and 86, they win the Pioneer League championship. So this is a team that Salt Lake really does, you know, care about in the best way you can care about a rookie level baseball team. And they were a team that entered 1987 at kind of like a championship caliber. But having said that, all of these guys were in the Pioneer League because they saw, I've got one more chance to achieve my dream, which is to play in the majors. And we used news footage from NBC National News back in the 80s for a piece about the Pioneer League where they call out, I mean, at that time, 100 plus guys had made it all the way from the Pioneer League up to a career in the majors. So it was like a realistic dream for these guys, even though it's still crazy. So that summer, these guys who felt like the Trappers were their last chance kind of felt like they needed to do something to get the scouts' attention and to prove that, you know, they'd made a mistake by not drafting these guys. And they couldn't have planned what they ultimately did, but what they did was put together a 29-game winning streak, which we can talk about just how crazy that is in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think it's
unheard of.
It's very hard to quantify. And so, you know, in professional baseball history, the previous record was set in 1902. In like the old Texas League. And, you know, we have like the Moneyball A's won 21 games and Cleveland had like a run of 16 or 17 in 2016.
Right.
Yeah.
Like winning 5 games is so hard in baseball. Winning 10 is so rare that it becomes a headline anytime it happens. And like, I can't imagine 29 games in a row ever happening.
Yeah.
Again.
No.
Like the Brewers this year had a game, like a winning streak of 14 games. And at every single game, they're like, Brewers keep the winning streak alive. So like 14 compared to 29 is like, that's double.
Well, yeah. And we've been working on this movie for so long that like every time a team goes on a tear and is like getting into the teens, we're like,
biting your nails.
Yeah. Are they going to blow it for us? Like, we've got to at least get the movie in the world. Cause we're like, once it's out, every time someone goes on a crazy winning streak, we might get more people to check out our movie again. But I definitely do not want it to lose its status as the all-time record.
Oh no, for sure. And 1902, like you said, with the Oilers was a 27-game win streak that they snapped.
Yeah.
That's impressive of itself, but I don't know. 29, it's hard to wrap your head around to see a team, especially nowadays, win 29 straight.
Yeah, because pitchers are just so good now. And there's just talent everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, baseball's a game where you play it every single day. Like they didn't lose for a whole month and there's no rest there. I mean, they're traveling up into Idaho, Montana, and into Canada.
Wow.
They were just exhausted, but they were still just crushing it. And I think in baseball, it's even harder than other sports because you have so much less control over the outcomes in baseball. Like a pitcher could just die at any moment. You know, your whole offense could just go cold at like a critical moment. And another appearance, one of our producers was talking about how in baseball, you know, in basketball, if it's down to the wire, you can put LeBron in.
Right.
Like you can get him there, you can get the ball to him and make something happen. In baseball, you're at the bottom of the lineup in the bottom of the line, ninth, just be over. And so there's just like so many improbabilities and unlikelihoods that make something like this streak an unreal accomplishment.
Yeah, I like how you brought up the like you could be cold, all of a sudden a pitcher could just, his arm could just give out, you know? It's like, even now, you can have a superstar that goes 5 for 5 in one game, and then the next 4 games he's 1 for 12.
Right.
It's like for them to like win 29 games and just everyone's bats must have just been on fire is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think being it in 1987 and not in like 1887, I think that just makes it even more impressive to me.
Yeah.
Because in the grand scheme of baseball, that is pretty recent.
Yeah.
And so I think, and players, you know, obviously evolve with Shohei Ohtani being able to do what he does. But obviously there wasn't a Shohei Ohtani that they faced back then. But 1987, like 1902, that stood for 80 years. And I don't know when 29 games can be broken anytime soon. But what I want to know the motivation and like the thought to make this a documentary, and what was why did you decide to pursue that?
Yeah, so my creative partner Kellen Ikigami, who's the director of the movie, and I met in film school, and we met our third partner Jared Jenkins, who shot this movie and is a director himself, and the three of us formed this production company together about 10 years ago, and we're called The Plains. But back when we were in film school, we met in 2012. And that same summer is when the Trappers celebrated the 25th anniversary of the streak. And so I'm just like reading the Salt Lake Tribune's website that summer and see, hey, what's Bill Murray doing in Utah? Why is Bill Murray at a Bees game? Because I grew up in Idaho, and you know, I grew up with the Idaho Falls Padres, who became the Chuckers, and the Pioneer League is the baseball I know. But I didn't know anything about the Trappers or the winning streak. And so seeing that piece in the newspaper and seeing the way that it seemed like Bees fans in Salt Lake were so excited to relive that experience in some way, Kellen and I just became totally obsessed with that story and hopefully making sure we were the guys to be able to tell that story. And so it took us a few years to, you know, get our careers to a place where we felt we could take on something like this. And the first thing we did was, there's a website called 29inarow.com that was run by, and kind of like an archive of the Trappers run that was kept by Dave Baggett, who's the owner of the Ogden Raptors, and Steve Pearson, who was the general manager of the Trappers back in 87. And those guys, once we got their trust, Dave gave us the email list that they used for the 25th reunion. So suddenly we had all the players. We had their phone numbers, we had their emails. So we just started reaching out and, you know, asked them to tell us their recollections of it over the phone, start getting their trust, see if they would let us do this, because we had to get their consent. And there were guys who were varying levels of interested in it. You know, there were some guys who kind of like were at a point in their life where they didn't want to relive, you know, this thing that, despite the streak being amazing, the dream of baseball didn't work out for them. And so once we realized that these guys were still kind of grieving and dealing with the fact that none of them as kids dreamed of having the longest winning streak in history, even though they'd end up in Cooperstown for it, they all wanted to play in the majors. And so like, even though we wanted to tell the story of the streak, talking about baseball opened up this raw nerve in them, because it is this place of pain. And we realized, crap, in addition to how amazing the streak was, there's also a story with what happened to these guys. And they had to adjust and change their idea of their dreams and their lives. And they had some serious stuff to get over. And so that journey became a big part of the movie for us too. So one thing is that our movie at the halfway point, we're done with 1987. Like they've broken the streak. It's over. They've had the success. And then the whole back half of the movie is catching up with them now and seeing the ways in which they made sense of that failure and, you know, have kind of found hope and redemption and, you know, a lot of change in their lives.
Oh, for sure.
So that's so cool. Like, what would you like? How was that experience? Like talking to them in person? Was it a mix of like happy emotions, sad emotions, like all of the above?
Yeah, and it's stuff that you'll swing through that wildly as you're talking, because you're talking about what was the best summer of these guys' lives and also the thing that most represents how close they came. You know, because I think that summer they had ABC's Wide World of Sports here. They had Sports Illustrated covering them. I mean, there were MLB scouts in the stands that summer. Like they had a legitimate reason to believe that it could have happened for them. And so I think we did find them like reliving things with so much joy and then also dipping into the kind of heartbreak of, you know, I mean, it's stuff I think a lot of us have felt when, especially when you love sports, even as a fan, you feel that heartbreak and grief and loss. But when you're on the field with it and it's your life on the line, like, we went to some pretty, like, they let us in a very profound way. Like these guys got vulnerable for us in a way that I think is uncommon.
I'm sure a lot of them felt that they're a part of such history that is going to be very hard to be broken, that they felt they deserved a shot because they did that. And how many players would end up getting a call to the pros on the team?
From the Trappers? Zero. So none of them made it to the majors. There was one player who has since passed away who was one phone call away. Like he was in AAA. I believe he was in the Reds organization, and he was one phone call away. A couple guys made it to AA. Most of them capped out in single, but none of them made it. And in the movie, you know, there's a lot of talk about maybe this is a story where the sum was greater than the parts, which like is kind of disappointing on an individual level, but it's also like representative of what a team is. You know, a team is something that makes a group of guys greater than they would be on their own. And so the team did something miraculous together, you know, and that's, you know, absolutely. I hope the experience of making the movie and time passing and life, you know, living more life has made these guys have real peace with what didn't happen for them and have given them a chance to really celebrate and enjoy the thing that they did do, which was this, you know, still unbeaten streak.
I know. Crazy.
I want to ask a question, but I don't know if you can give me the answer because I don't want you to spoil something.
No, go for it.
I wanted to ask, like, I want to know how it ended. How did the streak end? Like, did they just take a hard loss, or was it like a heartbreaker? Was it a...
No, I mean, and it's like, luckily because of the way we made this movie, I don't feel like it's a spoiler at all. Cause like streak's in the title, you know, they're going to break a record somewhere in there. But fortunately, so the series where like games 27, where they tie the record, 28, where they break the record, and then the new record at 29, I believe all three of those games were like a homestand in Salt Lake.
Oh, wow.
So like the city got to be there for that moment. Wow. And then they take a road trip up to Billings and they just drop a game 7-5, 5-7. You know, it wasn't like super dramatic. It wasn't. And by that point, you know, every game is just gravy. Like they already broke the record. So I think you lose a little bit of that momentum once the record's done.
Yeah, well, especially winning it in front of your home fans and having to go on the road.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Another member of the production team who was attending the screening on Tuesday afternoon met the pitcher who broke the streak for Billings. So his name's Quinn Marsh, and he is a Bountiful native who made it up to Single A. And he came to see the movie with his family, and it was really cool to meet yet another person who factored into the story.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you know how the vibe was in Billings at the time when they beat them, or?
That's a good question. No one's ever considered that before, at least on our team, because it's kind of like it comes after that moment when there's the high of breaking the record. And I know there's lots of talk about the Pocatello Giants being especially like hungry to break the streak. I think during that particular stretch of the season, they played Pocatello and Idaho Falls a lot. And so some of the news media that we got from Idaho definitely gave the sense that like people were out to get the Trappers. But that night in Billings, I don't know. But I mean, judging by the fact that, you know, the pitcher from that night remembers breaking the streak distinctly, I think that they probably were pretty proud of themselves.
I'm gotta be sure that the Billings fans are probably going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you're a Dragon Slayer, right?
Yeah.
Like
I would assume that there was probably is max capacity of a crowd for a streak that hasn't been broken yet, but it had already set a record.
Yeah.
And then they come to your hometown, especially in Billings, where no offense to Chauncey, but there's not much to do there. So you just go watch a baseball game and you could be a part of history. I mean, I would have probably been there.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I would have been watching too.
Yeah.
Especially, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I just can't even fathom like losing that streak. But at least they broke it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's called the streak for a reason.
Like imagine losing in game 26 or something. Just being one of like
no, that would probably be you. That would probably be a feeling you will never be able to
I can't
break
even
and
like,
get over.
wrap my head around the fact that they didn't lose for a whole month.
I know.
Like that's just like awesome. Imagine just going to like you're playing baseball a whole month and you just know you're not gonna lose. Like unreal, unheard of.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you're right that like no matter what happens in those last few games, like if they had missed it by one, if they had just tied it, like when you're in that rarefied air, I think every emotion's just so heightened. So like when you break the record, it's the highest high you'll ever feel.
Mm-hmm.
When you miss it by that much, it's the worst you'll ever feel in your entire life. But, you know, I mean, Billings got to have their night on game 30, but I think the Trappers at that point were maybe glad that the pressure was off.
Yeah.
And then they could like focus on, okay, we got a championship to win, which they did.
Awesome. You mentioned Bill Murray. Is he in the documentary at all, or did you guys talk to him or get something from him?
So Bill Murray, if you know, is kind of a famously elusive character.
Yeah.
Like he's hard to get a hold of. And he and his brother, Brian Doyle Murray, were co-owners in the team together. And we see Brian in the movie. He came to the Salt Lake Trappers 35th reunion. My partner, Kellen, the director, has talked to Brian Doyle about the movie. We have Bill's phone number. We have Bill's email address. Like we've done absolutely everything we can to reach him with the movie. We hope he's seen it by now. But I think if I understand his brother right, their perspective is that the real story of the Trappers is the players. It's not about the fact that they owned it. Right. And I really appreciated that perspective. And we were always trying to make a movie that focused on the players. Like I know there's some alternate Bad News Bears thing out there that's like Bill Murray you know, came to Salt Lake and whipped these guys into shape. But like the story of the players is beautiful and like enormous on its own. And so we did not get to talk to Bill Murray, but if I understand the Murray's standpoint, it's coming from a place of wanting to give these players their due.
Right.
Even though if he called, we'd pull the movie out of theaters and put in a new scene.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He would
I mean, it's Bill Murray at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I had to ask because, I mean, at the end of the day, it is about the players because they're the ones who broke the streak, not him. But it's just cool that he happened to invest in the team and see like the vision or how, I mean, that would have just been cool to see why he invested in it and then how how that happened. But I mean, so you did get to talk to his brother somewhat?
Yeah.
He came to the anniversary, you said, right?
Yeah. And we know he's seen the movie and has been really kind about it and just like got really emotional about the whole thing. But yeah, the story of the owners is really cool in its own right. Because I think for all of us who have wanted to play baseball in the major leagues, also the dream once that stops is like, man, would I love to own a team? Man, would I love to be a GM? Like I would love to just you just want to be part of baseball. Right. And so I can totally see how the Murrays, these kids from Chicago who love the Cubs, just like as soon as you get successful, it's like, what do you want to do? Be in baseball.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so we have some of the cards here. I have the whole set, some of the autos from some of the players here. I think we have 9 autos total. Then the rest of the set is right here in my hand. But let everybody know how they can watch the documentary, how they can, like where they can watch it and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
so we're about a week into our theatrical run in Salt Lake. We opened downtown and had a really amazing turnout. We sold out a few of our weekend screenings. We've had people coming to the weekend or the weekday matinees. And so we're feeling really excited that people want to see it. So we have another week in Salt Lake that we know of right now. So we're going to be playing downtown through September 4th. We're hoping that can go on not just longer there, but that we'll soon have news about expanding to other theaters along the Wasatch Front. And then later this fall, it's going to be available for rental and purchase on iTunes and Amazon and wherever you get your movies at home.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, man, and talking about this movie. I can't wait to watch it and just experience, something that I couldn't have with that streak being broken and being set. So I appreciate you for coming on and taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to give away all of these cards, so all these autos that we have here, and then the rest of the set for the Trappers. So make sure you guys leave a comment and you guys subscribe and like this video so you guys can enter in to be able to win all these cards. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Peace.